Well, welcome everybody back to the CCC Weekly Podcast. We're glad you're here with us, and we're really glad Ed is back.
I'm also glad to be back. Look at me.
Really look at you.
I don't know if y'all can tell, but I'm a little more tan than I used to be.
Are you? Oh, isn't that nice?
Do you want us to say that? He does. He looks
jealous?
a lot.
You want us to be jealous?
He's a lot tanner. Yeah.
I'm a little tanner.
Okay, good.
You went down and shut down spring training.
You did? I heard
did. They let me try out for the Braves, and they go, "That's it. No more baseball.
No more baseball ever."
No one can compete with this guy.
Yeah, I did happen to yell at a guy that I know playing for the Braves, and he then went and pitched, and they closed the season right after that.
So we're going to blame you now.
We're going to blame you for that.
I'm upset right now.
Oh,
well, okay. Yeah. Well, guys, we're glad you're here.
So,
and
just so we know, how y'all doing?
Oh, me?
How y'all doing in the whole
quarantine?
Corona? Are we Corona?
COVID.
It's COVID-19
coronavirus.
Goodness. COVID-19.
They didn't talk about it in Florida, I guess.
Well, the interesting thing in Florida is all the old people were like, I'm going to do what I want to do. I did not even realize there was a big deal until I'd watched things on social media from back up here. And everybody's like, oh, the stores are empty and all that. I'm like, no, we're having ice cream and going to the beach.
Well, there you go.
And the people are not.
I'm surprised you came home.
At least in South Florida, Becky and I went, and I thought, I'm going to buy all the toilet paper, go back and make back my retirement from the house that's been lost.
You're going to have a lot of toilet paper for that.
And then I didn't. Okay. I didn't really do it.
So how are you, Nathan?
Good. I think it depends on whatever situation I'm in. I think being at home, if you stay too much on social media, you stay too much on things get kind of intense. I'll just say.
That's for sure.
And confusing. You hear lots of different sides of different things, and so I think when I'm just by myself, or with my family in my home, and I'm stuck on social media and I don't have as much to do, I probably am more freaked out. But then being at church on Sunday and coming to the office today, I think kind of having a sense of normalcy, and certainly on church on Sunday, being able to just remember that God's in control and my mind getting fixed on that. Really brought me back to a center that really mattered. So I think on different days, but I think we're certainly handling everything fine. I said to my wife today, I went home for a little bit before we filmed this. This morning when I was with my daughter, my oldest daughter, she was we cook breakfast together in the mornings, and
you and your daughter.
Me and my oldest daughter, we'll cook dinner in the morning. So we cooked some oatmeal this morning, and my youngest daughter wanted some milk, and I said, well, we're not going to have a lot of milk today. They like to. I have 4 kids, so they go through a lot of milk.
It took me 2 or 3 stores yesterday to find milk.
Well, exactly. So I said, hey, we're not going to have milk. We don't have a lot of milk, and we might need it for cooking, so we're not going to have any milk. And she went in and grabbed the milk and said, we have a lot of milk, because we had about maybe 3/4 of a gallon. And I said, well, the stores don't have a lot of milk right now, so it may not be easy for us to get some more. So we're just going to use this kind of sparingly. And she had gone to Walmart with us the day before to pick up a bunch of groceries. And if you guys have been in the grocery store, if y'all have been, it's it's almost like a different world.
It is.
And everything is kind of stripped bare, and there was no milk. And so she said, well, why is that? Why, and I said, well, a lot of people are scared right now because of a lot of people are getting sick. And we've told them like they're out of school because a lot of people are getting sick, and trying to explain it at a level they can understand. And I said, a lot of people are scared that they're either going to catch it, or that maybe the grocery stores won't have as much food anymore, and so they're trying to stock up as much as they can. And she said, well, did we get more groceries than normal? And I said, no, we didn't. I said, we got enough that we all of us can eat. I said, but we didn't get more than we needed. And she said, well, that's good, because other people might have needed that food, and Jesus would want them to have it. And I said, that I'm like,
I've done a good job.
Yes, and honestly, I think it's a credit to our children's ministry as well, that they're learning those same kind of lessons there. And so she really, she said, well, I think other people need that food too, and so I'm glad. And so I got to talk to her about, we get enough food, and they'll get us through this week, and we trust Jesus is going to take care of us. She goes, well, yeah, Jesus loves us, so he'll take care of us. And I just thought, what a cool conversation in the midst of a lot of us as adults are very much living in uncertainty. But for her, she just had this, as we would say, childlike faith that, well, Jesus loves us and he's going to take care of us. And it certainly brought me back to a center of, yep, that's right. And I should remember that as well.
Yes, I had a moment myself in the grocery store yesterday. Mondays is when I always go to the store and buy stuff for my family. And I have plenty of toilet paper at my house right now. I'm doing well. I know some people aren't, but I'm doing okay.
We are too.
And walked into a store and I noticed that it was one of the big bulk stores around. And a lot of people had toilet paper in their buggies, you know, like, oh, they have it here. You know, it's like everybody in the store had a big thing of toilet paper. And even though I just bought some, I had some at the house and I'm stocked up for weeks, there was that little thing in me that went, maybe I should go and get one of those big things before they run out and take it home. And, and I stopped myself for a second and I said, no, wait a minute. You've got plenty for weeks. Why would you take something that might deprive somebody else from having it? So I had to push that little greed in me down a little bit, and I'm not saying that to toot my horn because I really struggled for a second.
Yeah,
I was like, I had that in me to go and just not trust God for a moment,
Right.
and trust that He's got me, and I'm everything's okay at my house, and so we're all kind of.
Oh yeah, I think
that stuff.
everybody's at that place. I have certainly had all of that stuff too. I told a friend of mine today that I had breakfast with that it's part of my personality that no matter what I feel on the inside, when I say something out loud, it sounds like I know exactly what I'm talking about and that I'm fully confident. But it's not always true.
Yeah.
And particularly, when you're in a leadership position where you're making decisions that affect a lot of people, and I'm not anywhere near big, but I make decisions that affect people.
Yeah,
I
sure,
lead this organization along with our elders. And I've had many moments of, what's the right thing to do? Where do I go? And what's going to happen next? And what do we do for the organization? What do I do that's best for the people that are employed here? And what do I do that's best for the people that attend here? And what do I do best for our community? And what do I, and I want to know what the future is. And that's for me. I struggle with wanting to control everything.
Sure.
I just want to control everything. And, eventually you have to get to the place of I'm not supposed to control everything. I'm just supposed to follow Jesus. And so that's where I eventually get back to. I have to put my feet behind Jesus, and I'm like everybody else. All I have to do is move when he moves.
Yeah.
He's going to care for me. Like your daughter said, my granddaughter said, he does love me. He is going to take care of me. It might not look the way that I want it to look, but he only has good for me.
Yes.
He only has good for me. And I just have to trust that. And he has good for everyone else. It just may not look the way I think it ought to look.
Yeah. So on that note that we sort of jumped into it, I just thought today would be a good time just to have a conversation about all these issues that are coming up in our world because of this virus and the spread of it and the fear that's out there and all the stuff that we're all trying to navigate through, rather than getting to the questions like we normally do, which if you've sent a question in the past couple of weeks, we're going to hang on to those for another week or so, and we'll get to those at another time. Today, I just want to talk about where we sit, because I know a lot of people on Sunday that I ran across, they have questions about what the future holds, and I think I said this when I talked on Sunday. We don't have a lot of answers about what the future holds, but we're following a God who does, and so that puts us in a place where we can have peace. So, but let's talk about that. A lot of people are asking, where are we as a church on this? What's going to happen this weekend? And what can we tell them about that? So,
well, as you guys know, we've been in meetings all day long.
We have.
Trying to get all of that together. You all were in a meeting with me again last night. We had a meeting last night about trying to do all that best. And nothing's being done quickly or flippantly. And I know everybody wants me to have an answer. So what's happening this weekend?
This Sunday.
Well, thankfully, we don't have to make a decision about Sunday until probably Saturday or Friday. And we will have a decision. And we are working on all of that to try to do best. And I know, people wonder, so why did you all stay open this past week when everybody, it seemed like, and again, of course, it wasn't
everybody.
It wasn't everybody.
Seemed that way.
I was talking, there's a younger pastor in our county who's near here just took over. He's not as experienced in that, and their church was staying open in Sonoy, and he and I wound up talking, just trying to commiserate, and I'm praying for you, I'm praying for you. And neither one of us were confident on what's the right thing on all of that. But even Sunday, we were within what the CDC said. We knew that with our 5 gatherings at 2 campuses, we were not going to exceed the 250 at a gathering that the CDC wanted. We knew that. We knew we were completely within that, where that needed to be.
We weren't even close.
We weren't even close. And we knew we weren't going to be close because we had said to people, and we really do believe this, hey, if you're in a high risk area, you shouldn't come.
Absolutely.
If you're very concerned that you have to interact with people, that you shouldn't come.
Yes.
But we're always constantly trying to balance, and this is where Christians have always been historically, and I think we often miss this with Christians around the globe and Christians in history that have given their life for our faith. Inevitably, you give your life because you disagree with people in power.
Yeah.
Right.
Because of something you deeply believe. And I'm not saying that's where we are, but there's a constant balance in the Christian faith of here's a deeply held belief we have, and here's what we're being asked to do. Now, thankfully, Sunday, we are still able to do both.
Yes.
We can say to people, hey, if you're in a high-risk area, we've always streamed our services since the last 2 years almost now. So please, watch online, do what you need to do. Please take care of yourself. Don't come. Don't risk anything if you're really concerned about that. We don't want that. But the deeply held belief, I think, that people miss, and I can't tell you every Christian holds this, but it's at the core of our theology as a church and our heritage, that Christianity is communal, is the best way I can say it. That when you get called by God, when God invites you into his family, and I get to be a son and daughter, it wasn't like he was just me.
Right.
I don't get called into my own little family. And so, people have said to me, well, if we're the church, why do we need to be together? Well, you personally aren't the church.
Yes.
Right.
And your family is the church.
Right.
Well, I said this last night. The word church literally means assembly.
Yes.
That
The
requires
gathering.
many people.
Yeah,
Yes.
that word church is a German word, Kirch. It's what it really, but it was trying to get at what Jesus says, I'm going to build my assembly.
Yes.
Yes.
And the gates of hell won't stand against my assembly.
Yeah.
And we're part of the body of Christ. And so we're told not to forsake assembly.
Yes.
Yes.
And so there's a deeply held part of Christians, we gather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And around the world, all the time that we have safely gathered in the United States, people have given their life not because they decided Jesus was Lord and in my heart and I'm okay and I go to heaven, but because they chose to gather.
Yes.
Well, and the assembly itself is often seen in other nations as a threat to other
course it is.
organizations and other things. And it's not, as you said, it's not, hey, you made this personal decision and you changed a philosophical view in your mind. It's you now are assembling with a group that is considered a threat to either those in power or to whatever. And we, luckily, where we live, that's never been really the case anymore.
And even Sunday, it wasn't the case.
No, of course
And
not.
so I would just say the decision that we'll make, we will try our best continue to hold those two and do everything we can to keep both of them. Because we like you, we love our neighbors, we love our community. We don't want to be responsible for that. So we urge everybody that's not, but at our core, we believe assembly is a part of what it means, that you are not personally the church, I am not personally the church, that we collectively are the church, and that when the writer of Hebrews says don't forsake, the reason I don't forsake is so that we can encourage each other to do
Yes.
good works and good deeds. And Jason knows, and I said to some people, I was scheduled to be gone Sunday. None of us knew this was going to happen. I didn't have anything I had to be for. Becky and I already had this planned, and as she regularly reminds me, you deserve vacation as much as anybody else. I felt really guilty that I wasn't here.
Yeah.
Uh,
I know, because you were constantly texting me
Yes.
all Sunday.
We all were having constant text conversations.
And it was really, when I had to, pray my way through all of that, it really was eventually the Lord and I got to the place of, I was concerned that my reputation was, I'm asking people as a leader to do something I wasn't doing. And it was, I don't want to be anybody to say anything. And eventually it was real clear to me that from the Lord to me, I'm walking through the Sermon on the Mount in my mind because I believe that's where the good life that Jesus wants described. And I'm walking through that. He says, don't do your prayers before people. Don't do your fasting before people. And I just get the thing, hey, maybe you shouldn't try doing your leadership before people and let them. And it became real clear to me, Jesus doesn't give a flip about my reputation. He doesn't care about my reputation.
Yes, sir.
And so he loves me no matter what anybody else thinks about me.
Yeah.
He completely loves me. And I knew our team was going to be fine. And to go back to the part I was saying about the encouragement part, Jason would tell you, as soon as I watched the stream along with a bunch of the rest of you, and I texted Jason as soon as it was over, and I said, I'm so incredibly proud of the message you brought, because we were still community Christian on Sunday, in that our message was, God is for you and he is with you and you are safe. We sang those words, we believe those words, but then Jason got up and reminded us Jesus is greater than everything. So because Jesus is greater than everything, we should be asking, what can I do to help the person around me?
Yes.
And what can I actively be doing to help the person next to me? And that's at the core of what it is. It's what can, and I know, again, we are helping by isolating. I get all of that. But at some point, we are called to assemble.
Well,
And there's a part of encouragement that comes just when we get to talk to each other and look at each other.
I heard that from a lot of people on Sunday.
I did too.
People who said, I debated and I wasn't sure, but now that I'm here, I'm glad, and it was a help to me, and more so than I think they would have gotten had they just connected online.
Yeah.
So,
I'll just go ahead, Dathan. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say that I think, and this is a great part about Jason's sermon on Sundays, it's a reminder of, and this may get too philosophical, so I don't want to get too deep into this, but part of what separates Christianity from other religions too is that our faith is an embodied faith. And what I mean is that it's not an inward disposition. It's not just where my thoughts go. It's the way that I live. And so there's a part of it that, like you said, that when I'm loving my neighbor, yes, I can do that in some ways, lots of ways from a distance and from these things. But there are also physical acts that go into this, and that's part of even the assembly part of it, is that it's I am stating my beliefs through the way I act. And so I think all of that is a part of what we have to, like you said, it's a tension you have to balance at all times. But there's a level to which in our society that things, and the way that it would be called in philosophy, is what's called Gnosticism, which is really whatever happens within me is the most important part. And there tends to be in most of our religious things that religion is something that happens inward. And what Jesus changes about all of that, and this we've been doing in the Jesus is Greater series, is it is ultimately an inward and an outward thing.
The
and it's
stuff on the inward becomes embodied.
Yes, I have to, that's a part of God, not just being spirit, that God being 3 in 1, as we talked about last week, that him becoming flesh in Jesus, he's showing us God becomes flesh, that heaven takes on an earthly form, that Jesus is a new kind of human, and in fact, he came to bring a new kind of humanity where God lives in us, in our flesh. And I know that's very philosophical, but I felt that Sunday.
Yeah.
And I felt that even with talking to people, that there's a nature of, and even in what you're talking about in your message of, what can I do to help? That there's often a physicality, an embodiment that I bring, that I am bringing the hope of Jesus physically to people.
Well, and Jason talked about it Sunday, and we'll probably talk about it more in the future. It's been the nature of Christianity that in every great pandemic, it's been the church that has done what's necessary in that time to go toward people who were suffering. And it hit me in the last day or two. We're all self-isolating, rightfully so, to keep the thing down.
Right.
Sure.
For 3 years now, every health organization has been telling us the leading health crisis in the United States and in the developed world is worry caused by isolation,
Loneliness,
anxiety
yeah.
caused by loneliness. And so now we're moving into this thing where we already know that's a problem. And we deal with people all the time that struggle. They can't hardly go to work because they have to be with people because they want to isolate. They can't hardly be around anyone, and they struggle, and they're trying so hard to do it. And now we're doing this at some point, and I don't know what it looks like. I don't. And I'm not saying I'm right on all this. I don't have I'm talking out loud, just, and thinking out loud.
Thinking out loud,
I'm thinking out loud. We're going to have to figure out how to help people who already were struggling with that, who now have to do what we're all called to do and isolate deeper. And we've all been saying, digital doesn't fix it.
No.
Digital makes it worse.
It actually makes it worse.
Digital makes it worse.
Yeah.
And so now we're going to try to fix the problem that was caused by digital with digital.
And
It's we're really fighting an uphill battle, and God's going to need to be with us in it, and He will be with us in it. And maybe that is the solution, and maybe it's all temporary. And as I said to many people, when people have said to me, "Hey, I think you're wrong," and I think I say you may be right.
Yeah.
You may very well be right. I don't claim to have all wisdom on this, and God did not speak to me directly and tell me, nor the elders of our church, and tell us this. We collectively have tried to pray and discern what the right thing to do about this is. We may be wrong, but we're working toward to keep that in balance.
Yeah. We're trying to balance the loving people and,
And loving God.
And loving God and following His command. And I want to talk about that. You mentioned, speaking of the digital thing, we've always, well, for the past few years, we've been online with our services. And what they have been thus far is just a window into what we're doing in this room. And so people can just sort of peer in and just watch, almost like from a distance, just sort of take things in.
To say to people who are isolated digitally,
That's right.
Hey, before you come, this is what it's going to look
Yeah,
like.
What you can
An
expect.
idea.
That's right. And that's a valuable thing.
It is a valuable
I'm not downplaying that, but we said we can't tell you exactly what's going to happen on Sunday. We can tell you one thing that's going to happen on Sunday. We are going to be back online again. However, we've decided to change that window mentality to something a little bit more interactive.
Yeah, because of the fact that we know many of you, and again, maybe rightfully so, and maybe all of us eventually, who knows? I don't know what that's going to look at. But having a window into what we're doing is no longer even honest.
Yeah.
It's not a window.
Yes.
And what it creates is it creates people sitting in their room watching an event take place, not participating in anything, which...
And what we know is, because we've seen the analytics from Sunday, is they're not even watching for very long at all.
Yeah, I don't even want to try to. Yeah,
So
it's embarrassing. And that's true across the board. It's not just us. When you watch, everybody knows. And I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. It's hard to engage for very long, and it's really hard to engage if you have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old and 2 teenagers who didn't even want to be up at that time to try to engage. It is really hard to get your family together and say, hey, we go to church and now we're going to go to church, and to be honestly try to be engaged. So we don't know for sure what's going to happen in person. We will be like we have been for 2 years. We will be online, but Sunday will not be a window.
We're trying to get participation. We're trying to get engagement.
It will be designed for online.
That's all we've done today. And we're filming this on Tuesday. We have taken our entire
Everything else got shelved.
Everything else went to the side, and we just worked on what are we going to be online this weekend. So.
Well, and I think it's important. I don't know. I mean, for those of you who've listened to the podcast for our long history of
long time
3
listener,
months, 3 months,
first time. I don't know.
But
we
if
don't take callers.
If you've been listening, I think the tone of this conversation is pretty different, and I think part of that is we're just trying to be honestly as transparent as we can be about our thought process and things. But I hope you also see in the middle of all this, we're also no one is being brief or being flippant with the way we're approaching the situation. We really are very. I mean, a lot of prayer, a lot of. I mean, long meetings where we're talking about these things and we're, debating over things. We're not just going, oh, well, that's an answer. I mean, people are getting involved, and we're trying to get this tension. So, I mean, I think that's a big part in what we're trying to reveal in this is our heart behind a lot of this.
And I urge you, please pray for us.
Yes.
I pray for our government leaders. I hope you are as well.
Yeah.
And I know you all are smart enough and probably frustrated like all of us are at times. They also don't know for sure.
Right.
And so like we are trying to figure it out, obviously by the fact that things change every few hours of what they're asking us to do, there's no playbook.
Well,
there's no playbook for them. There's no playbook for us. And particularly, again, to just say we're blindly going to do whatever we're asked to do, we can't do that.
I'm not sure that would be honoring to the one we follow.
Well, and for everybody that always points up to me, the Constitution is also not honoring to people who fought to give us the constitutional right for freedom, that assembly and religion, and I get all of that. I'm not even trying to say that, but I have lots of people that are all about certain amendments that you'll never do this, but all of those amendments matter.
Sure.
They all matter, and the people that you say stood for them, they stood for all of them. And so we have to figure out how to balance this. It's our job as your spiritual leaders to try to figure that. I get, that it's a part of Christianity as well. You don't have to do what we say.
That's right.
No, I don't have any power over any of that. We're just trying to figure out what's best for this little flock of people that God has asked us to try to shepherd the best we can, spiritually and physically. That's true.
Yeah,
spiritually and physically. How can we do that?
Yeah. So one thing I did want to mention on a much more positive note was I was so encouraged and proud of what we were able to do together for Bridging the Gap this weekend.
Absolutely.
Me too.
And I don't know if everybody has seen or heard. We stood up on Sunday and invited everybody. We want to, between us and our sister church, Foundation Christian in Noonan, we're going to raise $10,000 in 10 hours to fund that. And boy, we blew by that really quick.
We did blow by it really quick. I don't want to get into that whole story, but
yes, that's
anyway,
the story.
I'm confident Clint's not watching, so I could tell you lots of stories about Clint.
Clint's the pastor of Foundation, by the way.
I love Clint. Clint, I really do. That's not just flippantly. I personally, he's who I had breakfast with this morning. So I love him. But, there's a whole backstory side behind that I had to say to him, dude, you're killing me.
So we're calling him out. But
you're killing me.
We together, our two churches,
we did the goal in Blue Pack. We more than doubled the goal.
20,000.
If you haven't seen it, go to our Facebook page. There's a video of them going to buy, and they bought enough for this week, and we supplied enough not just for this week. They've got probably 6 or 7 more weeks that I'm so proud of all of you.
Absolutely.
Who gave online. I don't know if you did that when you were in the service or out of the service. That because I don't know who was here Sunday. So,
you weren't.
You weren't.
That's right.
I just keep bringing that up.
I did give online. So anyway, that is that. Yes,
So,
I was not here.
So I would. What else do we need to say about this whole effort? I know we're talking.
I don't know.
We're going to be talking about how to really put that question into practice that I talked about on Sunday. What can I do to help? And I'll go ahead and tell you. I won't brag on my wife here for a second. We went home and after the message, and I was, we're just hanging out as everybody's doing, hanging out in the living room, and I heard her pick up the phone. I didn't know who she was calling. All of a sudden, I realized she's talking to our neighbor, which is a lady that lives right next door to us. We know her, but she lives alone. She has family in the general area, but lives by herself. And she just, I heard her on the phone. She says, "I'm just calling to check in on you. is there anything I can do to help you? And I was like, oh, look at there.
There you
know?
go.
Even my wife listens to my message. No, but and it was great because we found out that she had recently been in a car accident.
Oh, wow.
And had some challenges that we didn't even know about, living right next door to her. And so she shared that with us. And you know, who knows what the future is going to hold? But we let her know we're here.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, what a great, and that's something that I think we've been encouraged to do, is reach out to people in
Yeah,
our communities.
absolutely.
Exactly right.
And we're going to be talking about that, I think,
Yep.
coming up real soon. So
Yes.
hopefully we'll be able to embody that, talk about embodying our faith. So hopefully we'll be able to do some of that kind of stuff.
We're gonna still be talking about Jesus is greater than, because what better time to be talking about Jesus being greater than
And right now.
Then now.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we totally believe that, and so we're going to try to help you figure out all of that, and us figure it out. And again, we love all of you guys
Absolutely.
that join in or are part of our podcast, and you know, pray for us as we try to
Yeah.
figure all of this out. We're
Pray
praying
for our
you.
community. Pray for
Pray for the world and what's happening, and that we find a cure really fast.
So so keep in tune with us by watching this channel. If you're on YouTube, that's mainly where you'll be seeing some video updates. I'm sure we'll put something out later this week on our Facebook page, places like the website, of course. We'll be posting things up there.
I think we're going to get really, we're going to try to be more active than we even are. We've already moved that up some this year, but I think this is going to push us to be even more so. If you're not a subscriber on YouTube, you should go be a subscriber on YouTube, because it will notify you. We're probably not going to post it all directly to Facebook. It's a little easier just to do it all to YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's content just for YouTube. So, hey.
And coming to you and just in a venue like this, being able to speak to people, I think is better than just throwing up an announcement somewhere.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
So we want to stay communicating. So y'all stay tuned in.
Also, I do want to thank the people that when I gave the little announcement that Bridging the Gap needs some in-person volunteers, thank you for those people that came and did
Oh,
that. That
yes,
was also
absolutely.
good. Thank you all for showing up to do that.
They served a hot meal this morning.
They did. That's also awesome. So
Cool.
we love you, Community Christian.
Yep. And we'll see you real soon.
Real soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.